So I was running out of time, and I wrapped that up a little quick. I figured I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the tuning method that I've developed when I've got a gun that is tunable. Now, as I was trying to say, this gun right here is one that I'm putting together to use as a score gun. It's configured as a score gun. This is a 2 1/4 inch wide score 4 inch. It's old school. I got to get rid of this recoil pad because it's too heavy to get down. I have to turn the barrel down to my 10.5 pounds. But it's got a really cool Bucky's mount on it here, which is really light. And because of the fact that I never know what I'm doing, I always like to have a backup way to test. And so my score gun, I've always wanted to have my score gun set up so that I could put a big scope on it that I could see better with for testing. In this particular case, I decided, as I'm starting to convert this thing primarily to, because see, it has you can't see them, but there's some screw holes up here. It's got a plate that goes on up here. This was the universal, is the universal. And I decided I'm going to keep it so that I can go with a 3 inch wide forend and the 36 power scope that's on it right now. Bottom line is, when I went out to shoot these few groups, I decided I'm going to leave the barrel fat because, again, let me reiterate, elimination of variables. Anytime I can do a test, I'm going to do a test. I'd rather spend some time shooting a few shots than cut the barrel off. I've got a bunch of guys right now putting suppressors on. And we say, well, how long do we want it? And I've got a bunch of guns here we can bolt stuff on. I'm like, okay, here's a 22 inch barrel. Feels like this. Here's a 24. You go with a full 28, and then you put the suppressor on. You got this thing that you can't hardly carry through the woods. And it certainly doesn't handle like even a goose gun. So, trying stuff out. So here, I'm trying this out. And I decided I cut the barrel back to where I'm going to start using it as a score gun, but I haven't turned it down yet. This, by the way, is the 6 power scope that's going to go on it. Nice guy on the inner tube, setting me up with that. And so I decided when I premiered this Revenant series, this particular series of Revenant episodes, I'm just going to take that old barrel that I cut down. I'm going to screw it in there tight, and it retimed to a certain point. Just the way it came. It was chambered between centers. Leave it fat, chambered between centers, take it out and shoot it. Well, a couple of developments have happened in the interim. Number one, a kinder than most fellow on the inner tube on Bench Rest Central named Butch Lambert. I don't mind using his name because I'm not buying or selling or using. I've got some things from him from Shade Tree Engineering, and I can say they are top notch that I use to this day. But bottom line is, I'm doing all this stuff and I'm talking about it on Bench Rest Central. And Butch just out of the blue said, hey, I've got some 12L14 barrel drops. I've got some steel drops that you can have for shipping if I send them out to you. And I said, well, thank you very much. And a little while later, now, he used to be called the Barrel Man. Butch Lambert used to be the Barrel Man, and he sold shilling barrels by the bucket load. Shilling barrels only come in 1.25 inch, unless you order straight taper, unlimited, or cruiser barrels, and they charge big bucks for their big stuff. So I assumed that I would get some shilling drops that were 1.25 inches or so, and I thought, well, I can use it for all kinds of stuff. Well, lo and behold, several of these showed up in a box. He put together a 25-pound box of scrap steel, and I'm just doing this off the cuff just because I just got it yesterday in my life when I was shooting a Revenant. I opened this box up and gleefully spotted 5 inch. Now, as I said, Butch is a nice guy, and evidently he pays a lot more attention than most, because he offered these, and I had no idea he was so many steps ahead. He sent me inch. So what that allows me to do now is I can shoot this barrel as it is, cranked in the way it was. And that's what I've done up here. And while we're back on that, my methodology here, and I'm going to hold these up so that you can see, there's 2 and there's 3. And right here, after all my fiddle farting around here, and there are 2 5-shot groups in here, but it's all blah. I got over here and I got this weird reading, and then I moved my Labrador around, I rehung it, and I started getting readings. And I took a wild swag at something around a 3,150, 3,180 foot load, and I hit it. This group of 2 is the first 2 that I actually shot up in the working range of this gun. The working range of this gun is 32 to 3450, maybe 3500. But in the past, all of my notes that are stupid, my stupid notes that are all with clicks, 3,200, 3,250, 3,300. Here I think I'm mapping out loads. 3,285 up to 3,570. This many clicks is 3,250, 32. 102100. So this is clear up 2,000. Shooting 118s, a Federal 210, 75.5 clicks, bug holes, barrels broken in, bug holes, bug holes. But this is 23 years ago. And it's all written in clicks. So, since then I've refined and honed and changed my whole process to where, to me, it makes more sense. Elimination of variables. So now what I do is I make up 5 identical cases. And I load 2 of them up, and in this case I hit my velocity parameter. 3180, I think. I may be misspeaking. I'm just off the cuff, off the head stuff without notes. It's really ridiculous sometimes. And I thought, well, that's got so much vertical, and here's what I can do. I shot these 2 and I stopped. Then I took these 3 and I ran them up higher and I stopped. Because I have to go in groups of, I'm not saving a whole lot. What I'm trying to do is keep 5 cases seasoned in so that if I inadvertently mix them up. And so I do groups of 2, nope. Then I do a group of 3, nope. I ran up again. This is a group of 2. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Took the same group over here and shot 3. Went up again, then went and shot 3. I need to go back and check my, but the point is what this allows me to do is go 2 and 3, 2 and 3, 2 and 3. For some reason that one has 3. I don't know what happened here where there was supposed to be a group here. Going back and recreating my shooting is dumb. I have to sit down, and I did this off the cuff. As I said, I was sitting around this morning, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go summate a little bit. I'm just going to throw in this extra video. Throw in this kind of recapping what I'm doing and bringing you up to speed. And man, I can hear thunder out there right now, actually. The rain is coming in. The rain came in last Thursday or Friday when I was shooting and screwed up my shooting a little bit because I'm convinced that on this one I had a water drop. That's what my notes say, because I'm shooting under an overhang and it pours water. It's a corrugated roof. But suffice it to say that whatever happened through here, but they were coming down to where they're tunable. Now that's with the gun set up in a way that's illegal. So now, my next step is to incrementally, first I'm going to turn that barrel down, get it to weight by weighing the proper scope for it, and then put the 36 on there, and shoot it with a barrel contour down 100 bench rest contour. Then, using this method, and by now there'll be lines and lines of groups, and everything will be tighter than this, hopefully. But I just wanted to show 2s and 3s. 2s and 3s is a good way to do this when you're working up. You're not just burning the barrel, because barrels are like tires. They wear out quick. But if you put 2, and they don't go in the same hole, don't bother shooting again. 2, shoot for group 2, and then once you get one that repeats 2 and 3, 2 and 3 a couple of times, then shoot some 5-shot groups and find out if you're really there. That's what I'm going to say about tuning, just to fit it in here to make the video just a little bit longer. I wanted to throw this in because I was a little abrupt at the end of the last. These are going to come out together. It's a method. Now what I do is I work up velocity. These down here are like 2,400 feet per second or something. All I know is that 322 is a hot powder with a 68 grain PPC bullet. H322 is hotter. I normally shoot, H322 is equivalent to Vitavori 130. And both of those are a little too hot for 68 grain PPC bullets. So I go to a little slower powder called 133, which was specifically designed for the 68 grain bullet. And I'm taking a similar case, and okay, a 30 grain bullet. My notes are in clicks, understand. And I'm in a rush, but I'm in a very safe rush. And there's no data on this. So I broke out some new 322, and I don't even have the thrower that I was shooting at that time using the 75 clicks. I couldn't even just go away and blah, blah, blah. So I had to start from the bottom. So bottom line is I started way too low here. The first one I started with a ton of neck clearance too. Then I work up, now I'm getting into basically from here and coming around. This is starting to get into the area where I can start tuning and collating my notes and finding trends and bringing stuff together until we get 5-shot groups going tight, allowing for a little bit for conditions. You got to count them all, but I'll be putting wind flags out then probably. Once you get down to a quarter, you've got to have wind flags. Down to a quarter, I don't feel that I do, so none of these were shot with flags. And there was a storm coming in last Thursday or Friday that I was shooting. Not a storm so much, it didn't turn out to be a big deal, but we got a little blustery piddly, but I'm not going to blame any of that on that. The point is, I've got the Revenant shooting finally. I'm going to mismatch barrels on it. But here in the next little bit, interspersed with the 50 BMG stuff, I'm going to build this Revenant and hopefully get a 6 power, 10 pound HBR gun up and running. And at the same time, a varmint for score gun. Bolt a plate on the front, put the 36 power on there, and I've got a varmint for score setup. Might or might not have a different barrel. And also I'm going to take some of my portable barrel because I'm really hung up. And there again, I just have to step up and say again, thank you, Butch. This allows me to change barrels on the field. This piece of steel right here allows me to do what I need to do, which is I must be able to get 150 foot-pounds. What's on there right now, that barrel that's on there, I'm a half convinced, well, I'm not going to talk about throwing shots. Don't know if the barrel's loose or tight or whatever. I ran it down to about 60, 80 pounds, just hand, like I did back in the day, 25 years ago. Now I don't do that anymore. Now I set up a shoulder and abutment assembly that I can get to 150 pounds. Or on the big ones, I'm starting at 250 pounds on the 50 BMGs, and I might end up running up to 400 because due to the thread pitch, 250 pounds does not produce as much axial thrust with a 12-inch pitch as it does at an 18-inch. 150 foot-pounds with this collar on a barrel and an 18 pitch puts I am saying axial thrust, I don't know, tension, that joint. And then you boom, you're trying to not separate that joint. Now you go all the way up to a 50 BMG, it probably takes more pressure to hold the joint together, number one. Bigger bolt face. And 250 foot-pounds of torque doesn't stretch the metal, doesn't necessarily, when I run the numbers, that's about equal, and only equal, to 150 foot-pounds. So this gun, these groups that were shot up here were shot with a very conventional late 90s build, well, mid-90s build, early 90s build, I guess. This was, these notes were the last ones. Let's not talk about what happened back, 22 years ago. I try to sort it out. It's hard enough to sort out my groups and my day-to-day. So, this is the break-in, as I've promised before, warts, feathers, and all. From here on out, things should start to actually start grouping, but at least it's nice to be shooting a gun that's, I can shoot groups that are only a couple inches apart, work them across the paper instead of these shotgun blasts. Getting the 50 BMG down to, oh, and the next thing I'm going to do too, I shot all these free recoil and the gun's not balanced right. It's wicked front heavy. I'm going to shoot some more groups, of course. I took this down so the rain didn't hurt, because if we get blustery rain, it blows in and wrecks my targets. I wanted to use them for illustration. So I'll be shooting the next groups. I'm going to probably shoot another half a dozen groups with the gun just the way it is, not change anything, but try locking in and sucking onto it like a limpet on a rock. Ride her down, which I found out you just cannot do with 50 BMG. But compared to, back in the day, I used to think this thing kicked, because I had PPCs and BRs before it, and I had a lot of braked 243s and stuff like that. This used to be the kicking thing, but the first thing that made me giggle was the fact that I, taking a break, I went into this, and it doesn't matter if I free recoil it, shoot it off my face. Yeah, it comes back and hits me in the glasses sometimes when I'm free recoiling because I'm not paying attention. But it hits like a little child's tap compared to when you got 12 or 14,000 pounds you're unleashing and it comes back. Dude, be ready. So, I'm rambling now, but as I said, Sunday afternoon, bring it together thing. I'm not going to shoot today because I just heard somebody roll in. Got kids coming over and whatever, but I wanted to, before I wrap this up, before the rain wrecked my targets. Boy, that looks so ugly. I'm looking down here at the monitor going, man, that looks like a shotgun blast. There it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 groups on there. So, but some of them aren't even groups, only 2 shots. I don't consider 3 shots to be a group. We're just trying to get something going here.